Opinionated Idiot.
Hello, everybody. It is Sunday here, Easter Sunday. If you celebrate Easter, I want to welcome everybody and say happy Easter to all of those who celebrate or whatever religion they celebrate today. We appreciate you hanging out on this holiday Sunday. It is April 9th, 2023. You are back here at the Opinionated Idiot YouTube live show. We got a lot to go through this evening. Just want to get a quick station mention out of the way here. Just to let everybody know, you are watching live right now. I do live shows 3 nights a week, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're watching this, either watching live or what I do is I re-upload these episodes a couple of days later so you can catch it on a replay. But I want to appreciate all the new subscribers, all the new people that have come to the channel. And if it's your first time watching the live show, welcome aboard. You are in here in the Opinionated studio, the hangout, the chat. I see all my chatters, all my regulars in the chat. Let's go up there and take a look really quick. And if you are watching this on replay, you won't see, if it's a re-upload, you won't see the direct chat, but you will see chats when I pull them up. Amber's here as always. Amber, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you are doing well with your situation in your home state. I have Susie here as well. Fireflies in the house. She says, happy Easter. Sorry I had to work. Sorry you had to work. Well, it's just the way it is. You know, got to pay the bills, got to do that stuff, you know. Jen DC is here as well. Consuelo Medina is here. She says, happy Easter, or he says, happy Easter. We have a little messy is here as well. Happy Easter. And T 2014 is here, says hello everybody. Mountain Mom is here as well. We have Montana Hellcat in the house. Who else I got? MRG is here, says hello, all happy Easter. George is here. So let's try not to get kicked off YouTube tonight. Yeah, I won't be streaming Chris Hansen videos, but what I am going to do is I think that that episode is important. If you guys missed the live show, I did a pop-up live show last night. We talked about the 3 teens or young boys that were, 2 of them are now found down in Florida, captured of murdering 3 young teenagers. And one is 12 years old that committed this murder or allegedly committed these murders. And we talked about that. We talked the murder of Bob Lee, the Cash App founder. And I got a little personal last night. I talked a little bit about my personal life, the relationship with my father and things that I went through in relation to these 3 boys that are alleged in the murder down in Florida. I've not committed any type of murder, but we were talking about just things, you know, where are fathers in these homes? And did they have a support system around them? In relative to that. So I'm probably going to edit that video and re-upload it. So it is pulled down right now because I did get a copyright strike on that. But hopefully we can get things sorted out in the next couple of days and re-upload that. Donna's here. How are you, Donna? Thank you for checking in. Ducky is here as well. She said, made it on time. Chosen Rosen's here, always here. Thanks for hanging out this evening. Forward Love looks like a new name here. Good to see you in the chat. Looks like we have another new name here. Crazy Grandma is here. Grandma is here. Look like another new name here. Teresa Madden is here as well. Welcome to the channel. Maisie Star looks like a new name. Want to welcome you aboard. Great band, by the way. Love that band. Aquateal. I think I've seen this name before. Dina or Diana is here. We actually shared an email. I hope you got my response today. Thank you for sending that over. And I appreciate you emailing. Glowbug is here as well. And I think I'm getting her. Terry's here. Hi, Terry. Candy is here. She says below. So I think I've got everybody so far. And what I usually like to do, oh, we have another one checking in. Giggles is here. And wow, look at this name, generic name, YouTube user. Love that. Says hello from Ohio. Well, hello back. What I like to do here on Sundays is give a little bit of a, just a reflection over the last week. And I always tend to read kind of these statements or thoughts of ideas before we get into like the main show. And I was a little perplexed last night. I think, my channel has got I've kind of get caught up in the channel, the growth, a little bit of frustration, talking about, maybe I'll just give this all up. And I have to admit, Dina, her email inspired me today, and I thought it was very sweet and very nice. And what I did was I wrote a little thing here. I said, you are capable of achieving great things and overcome any obstacles that come your way. Believe in yourself and your abilities, and don't give up on your dreams. Remember that mistakes and failures are opportunities for growth and learning. Keep pushing forward, stay positive, and never lose hope. You got this. And, we can live by those simple things. As human beings, we get down on ourselves because we want to, when we're trying to do something for ourselves, this is hard. It's hard work. It's hard work to do all of this and get that reach that I want for this channel. But I have to just keep saying to myself, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. Your audience will guide you. They will let you know if things are not going right and point you in that right direction, because I am here to serve you as entertainment. I feed off your feedback. You let me know what you like, what you don't like. And, the biggest thing is in that last line, keep pushing forward, stay positive, and never lose hope. You got this. So that's for anybody out there that's going through a rough time right now. And, if you're pursuing a dream, it can happen. It can happen. So I just wanted to just kind of put that out there really quick before we get on with the show. Belladonna is checking in as well. Nice to see you as well. Let's see. We had a little bit of chats here. It says, never give up, one day at a time. Teresa saying, yes, you are awesome. Don't give up. You rock. Thank you so much. Giggle says, aside from your great commentary, you have a nice speaking voice. So definitely do this or a podcast. Yeah, I stutter. I can't read. My comprehension's awful. I appreciate that. Amber says, you're doing an amazing job, Bryan. I feel like your channel is just going to explode from here on out. At the end of the day, at the end of the year, you're going to reach your 10,000 subs. You're amazing, man. Thank you so much. Candy says, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And MRG says, you are doing great. Well, I love that. That's what matters. Coming in here and seeing all those positive comments and positive feedback. Oh, Dr. Bob's here too. Just wanted to do that real quick. But hey, if you're coming into the chat really quick, I get almost 80 people in here. That like button's only at 35. If you can pump up that like button, smash it for me. I really would appreciate it. And let's get on with tonight's show. We got a lot to go through, folks. What I'm going to do, I think on Sunday nights, is halfway through the show, we're going to go into members chat only. You'll still be able to watch the show. But if you want to chat, you can go down there below, hit the join button, become a member. And I have memberships for like $2 a month. So if you want to go in and continue the chat halfway through the show, go down there, hit that join button when I switch over, and I'll let everybody know. Okay, so what we're going to get into tonight is some new developments in the Idaho 4 case with Bryan Kohberger. There has been, let me read from my notes here. Authorities are looking at similar connections in Pennsylvania cold case homicides in relation with Bryan Kohberger and possibly his actions in this alleged, the alleged crime that he's a suspect out in Idaho. And there is a news source that says 2 days ago, Chris Cuomo of News Nation has reported, and now multiple news outlets are reporting the same thing, that sources say a victim's ID in the Idaho murders has been found Bryan Kohberger's parents' home. There is a source that has been leaked, and now multiple news organizations are reporting that. But what I want to do before we go through all rest of that is go in and look at Chris Cuomo's comments, because he did break the news. Again, I'm not really a big News Nation person. I don't watch News Nation, but they have been reporting a lot, and I know that everybody has their feelings on News Nation as well as I do myself. We know that IDs were seized during the search of the warrant at his parents' house. A question, this is really interesting too, and I literally dug through to find the tweet, but I did hear and see something of this. So a question was asked of Kerry Rawson, that's BTK killer's daughter, on Twitter in reference to who would take victims' IDs in any type of like killing or spree killing. And Kerry responded with one simple word, and it was dad. So we're seeing a lot of that parallel kind of universe to, Bryan Kohberger, if he did commit these crimes, to BTK. And we know that, Bryan Kohberger studied under the professor, and I miss her name. It's off the top of my head right now, but out at WSU, she wrote a book and had a relationship with BTK. And I also talked about, and if you haven't gone back and seen it, on Tuesday nights, we do Serial Killer Tuesdays, and I go back and look at infamous serial killers and kind of, look at their interrogation videos or maybe some news coverage. And we talk about that. And I said, there's a lot of relation to Ted Bundy as well with Kohberger. As we know, Ted Bundy's last crime was at a college. He killed a bunch of college girls. And you look at, Bryan Kohberger, what did he do? He attacked 4 people in his first crime. BTK, 4 people in his first crime. So a lot of parallel relationships there as well. Who keeps trophies? If these IDs are real, if this ID is found and it's one of the victims, that is kind of a serial killer move. And then another question that's been out there too is, how did these IDs or this ID come in contact with Bryan Kohberger? Was he in that home prior to the murders? Now we know that his cell phone has pinged at least 12 times up before allegedly he committed this murders. And I've talked about that. He was down in that area. So for whatever specific reason, maybe he entered that home when no one was there. We know that he stalked that area via the cell phone data, what we know of. And another thing that's really strange that I actually just kind of thought about, and I was like, didn't Xana's dad a couple of weeks before the actual murder work on the locks or change a lock on one of the doors? And I actually found a video in reference to that too. So we'll pull that up. But let's get to Chris Cuomo's report first, and we'll play through that. Let me just pull that up. And this was the breaking news the other night on News Nation.
Tonight, we have another exclusive set of details, and they go to 2 aspects. One, evidence of what was found in the places where he lived or he inhabited, okay, that may connect him to one of the victims. An ID was found connected to someone from the home in Moscow, Idaho. It was found during one of the searches of Kohberger's residences, plural. So what does that mean? Well, either they found it in Washington, where he was.
I think it's been confirmed now that it has been his parents' house. So that would mean that he took things from Washington, which would make total sense to me, because if he had victims' IDs, if he had trophies of this murder, he would want to get that as far away from Washington and Idaho as possible. Bring that stuff across the cross-country trip that you had planned to go home for Christmas. Bring all that stuff back to Pennsylvania and destroy the evidence. And we know that he was out at various times, all hours of the night, cleaning his car, bringing things out to the garbage into his neighbor's yard. You know, I go back to and I look at what was seized at his apartment. There was clothing. There was a WSU sweatshirt. There was other articles of clothing. Did he take clothing as trophies from the Idaho, from King Road? You know, now it starts to kind of, all these pieces start to come together. If this ID and these IDs is true and confirmed.
Just outside Moscow, Idaho, or in Pennsylvania. Police also believe they have evidence that could connect Kohberger to what they are viewing as cyber stalking of someone from the Moscow residence.
And I think, you know, and I'm going to kind of pause and interject here. And I think this goes back to when we looked at that TikTok affidavit, and the Google searches, they went back a year prior. I'm sorry, the social media, it's not social media, the dating apps, they went back a year prior to even Kohberger being at WSU. So was he looking at these victims, sizing them up before he got out to WSU and planned this whole crime out? It's crazy. And I keep bringing this this movie up. And if you haven't seen it, Sigourney Weaver, it's called Copycat. And this just reminds me of that movie. And the killer in that movie copycatted infamous serial killer crimes, and that's how he killed. And Sigourney Weaver was like ex FBI agent or something like that, or a profiler that had like agoraphobia because she had been attacked. Very great movie, really great movie. If you haven't checked it out, but it's almost, I just feel like I'm kind of wrapped up or stuck in that movie.
We've reached out to the police. Due to the gag order, they can't confirm this information. But does this answer two questions? Is it a smoking gun? You know, I never really understand what that means. You know, obviously, is it the murder weapon? Who is it? No. But does it connect him to a group of people he had no business to be familiar with? And does it imply that Kohberger may have had,
I would say yes,
more people
Honor,
on his list, and that may be why they're investigating
Definitely.
him, to see if they can connect him to any other situations. Let's bring in retired FBI agent and News Nation legal contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer and high-profile trial attorney Mark Garagos. To both
Coffindaffer, she broke some news on her Twitter as well, questioning the IDs. And I think that's probably why she's on Cuomo. And I follow her on Twitter. She's a great person to follow on Twitter. But she talks a lot about the Kohberger case on there as well, too.
both of your reckonings, you're familiar with the reporting and the sourcing on this. I basically have it right. Yes? Nods of the head is enough? Okay, so from the investigative side, look at him. Garagos hates doing anything that's favorable to me. You see that? Even nodding his head. He didn't really want to. He was fighting it. So from the investigative side, Jennifer Coffindaffer, let's start with you. You find ID from one of the victims in a place that was controlled, inhabited by Kohberger. Let's start with that. How big a deal?
It's a big deal. That is a smoking license. Just like the sheath was a smoking sheath found next to Maddie.
Okay, so I'm going to address this right now. So I'm going to address Steve. He says, with all the Achilles heels, Moscow and Pullman police are revealing their involvement in these crimes with all the cover-ups. So here's the thing, and this is where I have to put your cover-up thing, or this planting this evidence, or let's just say it is an ID and planning, okay? You would have to have Pullman involved. You would have to have Moscow involved. You would have to have the FBI involved. You would have to have all the witnesses that are involved in this. You would have to have Kohberger's parents in on this. You would have to have anybody that has had any single contact in this case, which would be multiple hundreds of people that had handled or written about this case, to say that this is a cover-up or it's a plan of evidence. There's no way that this giant conspiracy, because when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, things get fucked up. So I don't see it. And I knew that this was going to come up. I knew someone would chat this, but just think about it. There's no way that you could have 100 or maybe 1,000 people that are involved in this case all on the same line. It would be like playing telephone. You say, you say banana over here, it's going to end up apple on this side. So there's no way. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And I was waiting for it. So there's no way that this is a mass conspiracy and that all these people are involved to plant evidence and forge paperwork and plant IDs. Don't see it happening. Just don't see it happen.
With his DNA on that clasp, it's the same thing in this situation. Why would he have an ID related to one of those people from that house? And remember, we know that identifications were recovered from the glove box, and that was at the Pennsylvania search warrant.
Now, do I think, and I'm going to actually add to that, do I think there was some shoddy police work in this? Yes. And that's why I think the FBI stepped in to not get this fucked up, to not fuck this up. And I think there was some spotty and shoddy police work, and the FBI stepping in and taking control to sort things out.
So interesting. We always wondered, what were those identifications that they referred to?
What's the counter, Mark?
Well, look, the counter is we don't know if it's true yet. I think part of the problem is when you put a gag order on stuff like this, and you don't have a way for people to respond, you get us doing what we're doing now. I mean, I would much rather find out if, in fact, this is true. I would want to find out, number two, where it was found precisely, and I would want to know who it's of. And if you get if you assume all of those things are true, then I don't disagree with Koffendeffer. It's a bad fact.
The idea that they have, what are they talking?
Isn't it crazy? And I was just thinking about this today too, and I'm going to pause the video. I think it's crazy that, this case is the biggest seesaw case that I've ever been in. I think, you have some evidence that might come out here that supports guilt, and then you have some spotty police work that there's a motion filed, and then it looks like, oh, this is gonna be over and he may walk, and then another piece of evidence comes up or another source comes out and says. It's crazy, and I think that's why people strongly hang on to this case, and we continue to hold on to it. And still, listen, we got a long way to June 26th to get that preliminary hearing, and I cannot wait. I am literally salivating to be home that day, and hopefully it's broadcast live, because I will be doing a live stream here of that preliminary hearing. We're going to hear all the evidence in that, because that will assert going forward with the case. So, I mean, I know you're all waiting. I'm waiting. Whether you think he's guilty, innocent, that day can't come soon enough.
About, you think, Jennifer, in the universe of, we have evidence that we believe shows that there was cyber stalking of him, of somebody else, either in that house or elsewhere. What kind of things might they be talking about?
Well, again, to Garagos's point, if that's true, why do people stalk? They stalk because they're feeling persecuted, and this is a way that they can exact their revenge. The same reason why people commit these types of heinous murders. All it means is pursuing stealthily. So this would line up completely with the crime he is accused of committing.
And by the way,
wrong, Mark?
it fits right in. It fits right in with Jennifer's theory from last night too. So she's really building quite a true crime manifesto here.
I can't wait for the book.
Yeah,
I'm going to need her on the podcast. The idea of, is it fair to argue, counselor, at this point, even if both of these things are true, I'm more worried about the ID being in something of his control or possession than I am of the cyber stalking, because you could be into somebody and and looking at them a little bit.
You got to think though too, those articles of clothing that were taken, let's say we go back to his apartment, they seized multiple layers of clothing there. They seized multiple layers of clothing at his parents' house. They test that for DNA, and they have any DNA of any of the victims on here. He's got to explain for that. How did you come to have, Ethan Chapin's sweatshirt in your home? How did you happen to have Kaylee Gonzalez's pants or shoes or whatever in your home? He's going to have the answer for that.
Too closely for somebody else's comfort, but it doesn't mean you killed him.
That's exactly right. Because if you've got something, I'm going to guess, and Jennifer, you can slap me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that she would then say, look, if Pennsylvania turns out that they find things and he's connected to other crimes, this is what serial killers do. They have trophies. They take a trophy, blah, blah, blah. This is like a true crime, I don't know, to exponential levels. So that is what the argument would be. And that's a very, I'll give you this.
I'm going to tell you, you're not going to see the body cam video of Brett Kohberger because under their law, because he was military, it's going to be protected. You can go up and look it up yourself. They won't redact things with military involved. It's under the Washington state law. I talked about this on one of the previous streams. I think it's going to be really hard pressed to see that body cam footage. May get released. Who knows? Maybe they're still investigating. Maybe he is a potential second person that's involved in this. I don't know yet. You know, those have been speculations that are put out there, but I'm starting to kind of see the stars align here. I still think Kohberger is the person of interest, the suspect in this case. He's definitely involved somehow. So, you know, I mean, we may not see.
If any of this is true, it's a very difficult hurdle for the defense.
Hey, thank you for watching.
All right, so we have that there. That was reported the other day, and then we've had a couple of some follow-up on that as well. I'm going to pull up some of these articles and go through it as to. So Daily Mail reports. Let me just see if my screen is correct here. Be back out. So Daily Mail reports a smoking license ID connected to Idaho murder victim found by Bryan Kohberger's car during search 6 weeks after quadruple killings. It says an ID linked to the murder University of Idaho students was uncovered in suspect's Bryan Kohberger's car. Revelations come after experts said that suspect's car is set to become a key piece of evidence. I've talked about that. It's just a rolling crime scene at this point. Kohberger, 28, accused of slaying Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana. An ID connected to murdered University of Idaho students was uncovered in suspect's vehicle. Bryan Kohberger's car admits reports he may have been cyberstalking one of the victims. I don't know why this is loading all weird. All these ads, these pages love to fill these with ads. He has connections to the students, has remained unclear, but unsealed search warrant states officers found ID cards in his 6 weeks after the killings. I don't even know if we can get to any of this. Sources have told News Nation they belong to someone who lived in Moscow residence, but a gag order on the trial has stopped police from confirming any details about the cards. It came after experts revealed Kohberger's car is set to become a key piece of evidence and a rolling crime scene in the trial. Kohberger was linked to the grisly murders by DNA on the knife sheath found at the home and cell phone tower data, and also puts him in the area near the scene of the crime. Retired FBI agent Jennifer Koffendaffer said the discovery was a big deal. We've talked about this, basically just summing up the Cuomo segment that I just played. I have a couple other ones here too. Let's pull these up. So New York Post reports Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger kept ID tied to killings. This is on April 7th, so this is just 2 days ago. It's probably going to talk a little bit about the same thing that we just saw on Cuomo. Let me just page through here. Pretty much the same thing. They're just quoting from the Cuomo episode and not really anything new in that finding as well. What I wanted to do is pull up just the list of, let's see. This is what was taken at Kohberger's home. Let me see if I can, at his parents' home. Let me see if I can get this bigger. We don't need the handwritten one because we won't be able to read it, but I'm going to enlarge this. So first thing that's really interesting too, and my camera just got blasted. Hang on, let me refocus. Let me see if I can get, there we go. Okay, so the first thing that's really interesting in this is, first thing on the list, you have a knife. You have a book with an underlining of page 118, which is really interesting. They took an AT&T bill for Bryan Kohberger. You know, what's on that bill? Are any of the victims' phone numbers related to that AT&T phone bill? Was he, you know, that's going to be a big one too. You know, if he was calling those phone numbers or found to be texting any of those phone numbers. You have a Glock 22 and a Gen 5 40 caliber serial number, Smith & Wesson pocket knife. So another knife was taken as well. I thought there was another handgun on here, 3 Glock 40 caliber magazines. So the thing that's very interesting about this too is that he has been implicated, or now that the PA police, not implicated, but the PA police now are investigating, was he involved in any other crimes? And I find it interesting that they took, you know, a couple of weapons here. You have a couple of knives that were taken. You have a gun. If they can match up any of the what do they call that when they fire a bullet, forensics, you know, to any of that ammunition or any of that, you know, that type of gun that was used in any cold case murders in Pennsylvania, you may have a potential suspect here, you know, in and around those areas. And I know there was a specific one that one of my fans that watched the channel, they emailed me about, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But there has been some unsolved cold cases in and around there. And this specific one was, let me see if I can find the email, see if I can remember this cold case. Oh, okay, right here. Let's see. It says, hi, Bryan. I found a cold case in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, which is about 20 minutes from Effort, PA, where BK's parents live. Deanna Smithers went missing on May 28, 2022 after leaving a neighbor's house. She was at a happy hour bar and grills street fest that day. Police found her phone, wallet, does not indicate contents, and daily medication in her home. She has 3 children, one of which is 25-year-old son, Ryan Smithers. And she says, I haven't found much of anything else, but she could have known BK through her son, or could have been on Tinder. She said, I'm creating a Google Doc. I figured you'd be the best podcast to share it with. Let me know if you want to share it. And I just, show me the document. I'm going to open this document here. So let's, actually, I can pull this up. We'll see what she did. And then we'll go back to that document as well. But let me pull this up really quick. So this was the document that she shared. I'm not sure. Oh, I can bring it up here. So 45-year-old at the time of disappearance. She had brown hair, brown eyes, 5'5", 165 pounds. Last seen on May 28, 22, leaving a neighbor's house at 11:05 p.m. Police found her cell phone, wallet, and daily medications at her home. Was at a happy hour street fest, 12 to 10 at happy hour. She wanted her friend, that neighbor, to come over when she left her house, but her friend was tired, so possibly she sought company that night. Has 25-year-old son, Ryan Smithers. Missing posters posted on Facebook by Ryan's son and his girlfriend. And then just said, she's asking, could this have been a possible ties to Bryan Kohberger? Was she on Tinder? Was her ID missing? BK's masterclass degree ceremony was on Saturday, May 21st, 2022 at the PPL Center in Allentown. Someone said he was at the ceremony the same day she went missing, but was not accurate. So, good sleuthing. I guess there's a Reddit post. They probably have talked about it. I'm not going to really pull any of that up, but, he's being they're searching into some cold cases right now. I actually have some more segments here on the ID. Let's pull that up and play as well. Let me go back.
It's about the 4 University of Idaho students who were found dead in their home. Bryan Kohberger, accused of killing Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves in November. Well, sources now telling News Nation an ID belonging to one of them was found in Kohberger's car. And meanwhile, authorities in Pennsylvania are looking into Kohberger's possible involvement in other killings. Here to help me unpack the latest developments is former CIA officer and FBI special agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.
And if Kohberger is guilty of this crime that he's accused of and went through so many steps to avoid being caught, like wearing gloves while going out, etc., why would he keep an ID of one of the victims that could so easily be tied back to him?
Sure. Well, obviously, his involvement in these crimes is alleged at this point. And,
Hey, Casey, how are you?
if
Good
he
evening.
kept sort of a souvenir, really, it points to just that, that he, for his ego purposes, wanted to keep a souvenir of this crime, wanted to keep a souvenir of what he believed that he had successfully done. And I always think a lot of times with criminals that I've seen, it's always their ego that gets them in the end. I do think that he was very confident in what he had done. And I believe that he felt he hadn't left any evidence behind, but it's always their ego that's their undoing. And I believed he wanted a trophy, if you will, of the crime that he had committed.
How would his defense defend him having a victim's ID in his possession? What would the explanation for that be? So
we have 146 people watching. It'd be really great if I could get to 100 likes. I just need like 26 more people to hit that, smash that like button. Let's get that up to 100.
So that's going to be the tough one in this case. I think one of the things I've always felt about the knife sheath, although it's frustrating, one thing a defense attorney could say is that it was a party house. There were people that came in and out. People probably had knives on them at some point. It's Idaho. And so that was one way they could have explained it. But it's going to be very difficult for a defense attorney to explain how potentially a victim's ID ended up in his vehicle where victims were not known to have been. I think that's going to be the part where they're going to really have a hard time here. And that's why I believe this could be potentially more damaging to him than the discovery of the knife sheath.
I appreciate that. Let's talk about this because the ID has been called a smoking ID in headlines. Do you think that this is the most significant piece of evidence yet and that prosecutors will be able to use this?
I do. I've always felt, and I think I said on this show that I have felt that the car was really kind of the keys to the kingdom, if you will, in this case. He was definitely going to leave something, whether it was himself or part of the victims, behind in the car. And if this is indeed the case, then he left the ID of one of the victims. And again, this is all alleged, but if so, it could really tell us who his target was allegedly in the committing of this crime. And so, I think that this really could be a smoking gun piece of evidence for him.
I appreciate that. And Jennifer Coffendorfer spoke with News Nation's Chris Cuomo just this week on how Pennsylvania authorities are looking into Kohberger's possible connection with other crimes. Let's listen to that quickly together.
I think it is a signature type crime. I mean, this is a vicious crime with a K-bar knife. It's unusual. It was a co-ed on campus. So if they're looking at something very specific that's unsolved with these parameters, they're probably looking in the right direction.
Do you agree with Jennifer here that this is a signature type crime and may be connected to other cold cases? Or does your instinct say that Kohberger, this was likely a one-off for him?
I'm not sure. And I know that that's not very helpful in this case. But one of the things that investigators do have at their disposal now, which is going to be very helpful to them, is something called VICAP, which is the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program. And that is a database where you can run things like MOs, weapons used, gender of the person committing the crime through that and sort of build a pattern. And what they can do is then go out from there and look at other crimes that were committed in Pennsylvania. I think the bigger issue here and the bigger thing in regards to his signature is potentially that trophy that we just talked about, allegedly that ID that was left over. I think that's going to be key to see if he had others on him and that those could be connected to other crimes. I think that's a bigger signature than using a K-bar knife.
I appreciate that insight. If Kohberger is convicted, how likely is it, do you think, that he will receive the death penalty?
That's actually a great question. And my own criminal justice students have actually asked me that multiple times. I think it's highly likely if he is convicted in this case. I mean, we know that Idaho just passed the use of the firing squad in their state if the lethal injection drug is not available. I do believe that he is looking at the death penalty in this case. If he is convicted, this is a quadruple homicide that was clearly premeditated, and it would be a justified use of the death penalty.
All right, Tracy Welder, always appreciate the context and time. Thank you so much.
All right, so there's a little bit of segment from News Nation. I want to go back and look at this as well too. In the Hill.
News Nation has exclusively learned that Pennsylvania authorities are investigating Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger for his potential connection to other unsolved killings. This revelation broke just last night, so here to fill us in is senior national correspondent at News Nation, Brian Entin. Great to see you, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Please elaborate. What is this latest news that authorities are interested in Kohberger potentially having been involved in murders, I would gather, previous to what happened in Idaho?
Yeah, previous to what happened in Idaho, we don't have a ton of detail, but we have confirmed that they are looking into Kohberger.
You know, that's, you know, I have to say, you know, Lee, that's really, it's interesting that you bring that up. You know, listen, it's the same thing I'm doing here, that the same thing that the mainstream media is doing. You know, we're all sleuthing this, and we're all, you know, no one's answer is right or wrong. You know, that's why we do this. We have this, you know, this public conversations. You know, I'm not any more right than the next person sitting next to me. Everybody has their own opinions and their own ideas. That's what makes this great. I don't want to say it's fun, but I think this is what's stimulating about this, because we don't know. We were not there. We weren't there the night this happened. We weren't there the night leading up to. We can only look at what we know, the evidence, the videos leading up to that gap of time where supposedly this crimes happened, and then the after effect. You know, the Kohberger being arrested, and then the details that come out. I'm doing the same thing here on this channel. Drunk Turkeys are doing the same thing. Publicly Buzzed is doing the same thing. There's no right or wrong at this point. Right or wrong will be solved in the court of law. Bryan Kohberger at this minute is innocent until proven guilty. I've said that all along, but you can have an opinion and say, I think that he may be guilty. I think they have the right person. I think that he may not be guilty. It's fine. That's your opinion. You may not agree with me. You may get off the stream and call me a mother effer. There are people that don't like what I do. That's fine. I appreciate the click and the view. But there are a lot of people that are speculated. But, you know, the thing that I have to look at, I myself, and this is kind of my channel mantra, I tend to believe that law enforcement in this country is pretty good. You know, I think 99% of law enforcement is good, and there's that 1% out there that's really bad. I understand, and I don't know what everybody's situation is with law enforcement, but a lot of people hate law enforcement in this country. I get it, okay? Everybody thinks that everything is a fucking scam and it's a sham, and anything that there's a murder trial and a murder case, that it's always planted evidence, and it's a small town this, and there's drug cartels involved, and the aliens came down and sucked everybody's brains out of their head. I get that. There are people that think like that. I tend to go on and look at what we have as evidence and sort through it and say, hey, this is my idea. This is my opinion. I don't know. I kind of rambled there for a second, but I just wanted to make that point. I think Lee brings up a good point, and they are sleuthing just like us, and that's what we do. That's what we do. We sleuth. We talk about it. It stimulates our brain. I don't think a lot of people do that nowadays. I don't think people use their brains. And anything in this world is a possibility. Anything's a possibility. We don't know. We weren't there, but we will find out. And if Bryan Kohberger is guilty, then he'll go away. He'll go to prison. If he's innocent beyond a reasonable doubt, then he'll walk. And maybe they had the wrong guy, but we don't know yet. We don't know. I have my opinion on where I sit in this case. You have your opinion. The person sitting next to you, or the person, whatever, has their opinion, you know? But we have to keep this alive. We have to continue to talk about it, and keep this fresh. It's a big case. And these victims in this case, and the victim's family in this case, they deserve justice. They deserve peace in their lives. And the person that did this, or people that did this, deserve to go to jail. That's why I do this. That's why I want to keep this alive, because it's for those 4 victims and their families and that community. That community has suffered. you know, and I won't stop talking about this until the person that is responsible for these crimes go to jail. But, you know, everything is not always gray, but I know that everything is not black and white. But, you know, I don't think there's a lot of gray, you know, that gray area. It's looking pretty evident to me.
For at least
Anyway.
2 murders that happened in Pennsylvania.
Thank you,
We don't know if they've, you know, made significant headway
That's why I'm the
connecting
opinionated
him
idiot.
to those homicides. We just know that they were and are possibly still looking into a possible connection.
And refresh our memories. He was in Pennsylvania at some point prior to coming to the campus in Idaho. He was a student there. Can you refresh us of the timeline?
Yeah, so he grew up in Pennsylvania. He went to high school in Pennsylvania. He went to college and got his master's in Pennsylvania. So he lived most of his life in Pennsylvania. He had just moved out to Washington State, which, you know, right next to University of Idaho, where the murders happened, pretty recently. So most of his life was spent out in Pennsylvania. He got his master's at DeSales University. So he was there for quite a bit of time during his adult life.
So, Bryan, I just wanted to ask a little bit about this individual. He's obviously an educated person. Is there anything in his profile that we know of that would lead people to believe that perhaps he would be a serial killer? Was there something strange about him in his upbringing that would lead, you know, people to potentially believe that he would be this guy?
Well, you know, we've talked to a lot of people who knew him while he was growing up, who say, you know, that he was quiet, that he was reserved, that he didn't have a lot of friends, that he never really had a girlfriend, and that he was kind of a loner. He was bullied at one.
Nika says, no matter what happens in the end, some people will probably still believe what they always believed just to be right. Well, it's that. And you have people that are always going to stand with their conviction. If they look outside and they think the sky is purple instead of blue, then the sky is purple. It's just the way it is. If there's, you know, 3 water bottles sitting in front of them and they say there's only 2, then they're going to believe there's only 2. There's just some people you're never going to sway in a case. There's some people that you're never going to change their mind. They just stick to one thing and go through. Look, I've gone back and forth on this case. A couple of streams ago, I was like, holy shit, maybe there is someone else involved. Holy shit, maybe this isn't the right guy. But then when I go back and I look at it, well, I don't think I ever thought that I was the wrong guy, because I feel that he is suspect number 1. He is the alleged killer. You know, I was questioning the other day, was there someone else involved? You know, I've gone back and forth on a few things. That Drunk Turkey show really messed me up when I was over with Daniel and Publicly Buzzed. I mean, we went through some stuff on the show and the after show, and it had me thinking. I was like, whoa.
And overweight. In terms of, you know, any evidence that would show that he's committed a serial killing before, we haven't come across any hard evidence. Of course, you know, he's just accused at this point. But I mean, if he is responsible for these murders in Idaho, a lot of times, you know, it's not someone's first time.
Daniel, what's up, man?
And he's been studying criminology for so long. You know, he got his master's in criminology. He's now getting his PhD in criminology. So
I don't know if he's able to, but come join the stream if you want, Daniel. You can hang out.
He was very familiar with that field.
I mean, that's just very, very disturbing because it, you know, raises the possibility, I guess, that he had gotten away with some other crime or murder for a very long period of time. Obviously, after what happened in at Idaho, it was, you know, we were still kind of marveling at how long it took authorities to, you know, find and arrest a suspect. But still, that was a matter of, you know, of a few weeks versus this. I guess it could have been a much longer.
Publicly Buzzed. I'm going to invite you guys over on the channel here again. Let's do something again. That was fun. Screwed me all up that night.
Longer period of time at which he had eluded authorities.
Yeah, it could have been. And I don't want to blow it out of proportion because, you know, it's not totally unusual for authorities to go back through cold cases and unsolved murders if you have a situation like this.
Number OP1670.
I'm losing my
if you're
voice.
an American citizen and you use
and try to see is it possible that, that someone we've now caught could be connected? So I think that's what's happening right now behind the scenes. And again, we don't know of any specific evidence at this point connecting him to certain murders. We just know that they are investigating and they are trying to see if those connections exist.
And a connection to, and I know it hasn't really been explained yet, but to multiple murders, not just one specific case. Has that been explained yet? Yeah,
it's our understanding at least 2 potential unsolved murders in Pennsylvania.
So let's back
Is there any reason that he
solved murders? We have a situation like,
let's see.
Kind of marveling at how long it took authorities to, find and arrest a suspect, but still that was a matter of, of a few weeks versus this. It could have been a much longer period of time in which he had eluded authorities.
Yeah, it could have been, and I don't want to blow it out of proportion because it's not totally unusual for authorities to go back through cold cases and unsolved murders. We have a situation like this, and try to see, is it possible that that someone we've now caught could be connected? So I think that's what's happening right now behind the scenes. And again, we don't know of any specific evidence at this point connecting him to certain murders. We just know that they are investigating and they are trying to see if those connections exist.
And a connection to, and I know it hasn't really been explained yet, but to multiple murders, not just one specific case. Has that been explained yet?
Yeah, it's our understanding at least 2 potential unsolved murders in Pennsylvania.
Is there any reason that he would have made that trip or at least moved cross
Pennsylvania? They are looking into with possible connections.
Country from Pennsylvania to Washington?
Well, I have tried to do things with subconscious mouth. He won't do live. He'd rather just call in. He's a good dude. Talks really fast. I know he's a deep thinker. I haven't really watched his channel too much. He did a segment where he called in before. I just tend to vibe with Drunk Turkey and Publicly Buzzed. They're more my vibe. I enjoy doing stuff with them. But yeah, I mean, if he wants to come on the show, he can reach out to me. I'd rather just have him like live instead of calling in. So the invitation's there. Just hit me up. If subconscious mouth is watching, you can do the thing, come in and just kind of tell your side of things. I think he just tends to think more of there's planting evidence and stuff like that. It's just it's a little different from my view, but I'd love to hear his view.
And is it possible that he was trying to elude authorities by making the move cross country?
I don't think that's the reason. I mean, he moved out to
great
Washington State to get his PhD in criminology, where he was currently enrolled in getting his PhD out there. He had applied to the program out there and been accepted, and he was starting the process. He was, a TA. He was teaching classes out there. So, I don't think he
Real quick, if you are here for the first time here, please go on and hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Turn all your bell notifications on for me. I do a live show 3 nights a week, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. If you're catching this right now, we are live, but I do re-upload these streams a couple of days later in the replay. You won't see the chat replay, but you'll see the interaction with the crowd, and I will also pull up random chats as well too. In a couple minutes here, we're going to go to just a members only chat.
Not necessarily trying to run away from anything. I think that's just where
you can go down and hit the join button and join for $1.99 a month. That allow you access to be a paid member and allowed to continue to chat. You'll still be able to watch, but you just won't have the ability to chat because you won't be a paid member. So give that another 4 minutes. We're going to swap over.
He got into school, to get his PhD.
Do we have any updates on how well he knew the victims in Idaho? I think when I checked in on this, there was more evidence that he'd been, contacting them on Instagram. Do we know more about, whether he'd had interactions with them in person or more than just the one victim who he had continuously kind of tried to contact on social media? What's the state of that understanding, or why he picked them, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't know a lot more. There are the reports that he messaged several of the victims, and that they found those messages on his cell phone, and that they went into sort of like the unread folder on the victim's cell phone.
So the thing that I look at this, and I look at all this information that's being put out. The photos of the victims, the ID cards. I just think it's impossible to think to make all this stuff up. I think you're going to see a lot of this come out if that preliminary hearing happens on June 26th. I think it will be in the actual case that is presented forward to the judge. I think we still have a lot of digital forensics evidence that has not been put out there. You got to think they're going to go through all those computers, all the search history on all the victims' computers, Bryan Kohberger's computers. You're going to see cell phones that they have gone through and downloaded. So there's still a lot of information out there that we don't know of yet. Still a lot of things. The car, they haven't processed the car. We haven't heard anything about the car yet. So there's still a lot of things to happen in this case.
So, like if you get a message from someone you don't know and you're not friends with, it will go into this folder where you may not even see it. Beyond that, we don't know much more. The other new reporting that we just confirmed last night, though, which is kind of interesting with Kohberger, is you may remember the University of Idaho was able to obtain the house where the murders happened. The homeowner gave the house up to the University of Idaho, and that the university planned to tear it down, and they were going to do that very, very soon, just within the next couple of weeks. They are now not going to do that right away. There's been some concern from the families saying, hey, like, what if the jury wants...
What if the jury wants to go there and maybe walk the crime scene, like I said before, get a feeling for that environment, look, how tight those hallways are, how far was the backsliding glass door to Dylan's room, how far did the suspect have to walk up to those third floor and come down? Yeah, I think it's important to see all that. Hello?
Toward the house. We don't think it's a good idea to tear it down. So now the university is going out to the prosecution and the defense to see if they have any objections to the house being torn down. One side likely will. And then the university says they're going to go to the judge and let the judge make a ruling. So that's kind of interesting because we thought the house was going to be torn down very, very soon. And now that's not going to happen.
That is very interesting. I also know that Kohberger, will...
Okay, at this point, chat, we're going to go to a members chat only. If you would like, you can still watch the show. It's free. But if you want to continue to chat, you can go down there and hit the join button, become a monthly member. My memberships start at $1.99. It's literally less than a cup of coffee a month. So we're going to turn that on now. And we will continue.
Be eligible for the death penalty. Have the families given any indication how they, feel about that kind of issue?
So the Gonzalez family has alluded to the fact that they would be pro-death penalty. The other families haven't commented on it at this point. It's tricky right now for the families because there's this gag order in place, and it doesn't specifically say they can't talk, but it sort of does at the same time. It's kind of like a weird gray area. So they're not really commenting on a lot of those questions.
And for my members too, I want to do probably one of these nights where it would just be like a members only. You guys, we can come in and just freely open discuss the case. If there's any questions that you want to ask, we can go through and look at research things or look things up, or if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear all your ideas as well. I just want to pick a night here probably coming up soon, and we'll do that just for like a members only type of chat. So you guys deserve that because you are paid members, but we'll do that, which is going to be really fun.
Questions. But in Idaho, the governor just signed a new law that they'll now have a firing squad as an option. For
I agree, Boomer.
In Idaho, it's hard to get the drugs right now for lethal injection, and so they've had to put off some executions in the past. So now, if the drugs aren't available, which oftentimes they will actually have a firing squad in Idaho. So that could be a possibility for Kohberger if it gets to that.
Okay, so we have a new member that has joined. Amber has gifted a membership, and I'm just waiting to see who it was actually gifted to. Let's see. Ann Potts becomes a new member. Appreciate you. You do have capability to chat now down there in the chat. You can chat there. Let's give and the new member music. You know how we do it. Come on. Thank you for becoming a member. Amber, you're awesome. You're like the biggest supporter of their channel. I really do appreciate it. Welcome to the membership. We'll keep playing through here.
Which I know probably sounds grisly to a lot of people. Although I've heard arguments that a firing squad is a more immediate way to go out than the drug combination where people might be in a state of pain and they might actually survive it, and it's not nearly as humane as people have been led to believe. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, so that was a segment from The Hill, talking with one of the members, the reporter. I forgot his last name, Bryan. I forget his last name. I'm sorry. And just kind of reporting on what they have found. I want to look up here at the chat. 145 votes. We're going to end this poll now. I might put up a new one here in a second. So the poll asked, I think BK is 71% answered probably guilty, 18% still undecided, and I have 9% of people in here saying that they think he's definitely innocent. So that was 145 votes, and we'll push forward with the show here. What I wanted to do is talk a little bit about, actually, let's just bring this up first. So I think in that search warrant, what they're talking about is this 35 ID cards inside glove, inside box. What are those ID cards? It's in it. I remember reading through this and finding that very strange too. ID cards inside glove, inside box. And when I first read it, I was like, inside glove box? He had them in the car. But then rereading it was ID cards inside glove, inside box. And that is the speculated ID of one of the victims. And what was the other thing that I found very strange? Where was it? Oh, this is strange too. I always thought 46 was strange, and I tried to figure out what that was. Note from Bryan from Montana. And I always thought, like, who is Montana? Or was he in Montana and wrote a note to himself? I always thought that was really strange too. That one has always puzzled me. I would just want to recognize this $5 super sticker from Mountain Mama has sent a $5 super sticker. I do appreciate you for doing that. You know how we do it, guys.
Great cash, homie.
And we give the cheer.
I got you, homie.
All right. Thank you so much for the $5. I do appreciate that. So, and then, going into looking as well too, we have various laptops that they're going to go through. There's a desktop that was seized, and we haven't seen all the digital forensics of that. There's tons of computers that have been seized. You have a motherboard that was seized as well. So a lot of different, you have a solid state hard drive, tons of computers that were seized. Going back and looking, extra large Columbia Navy fleece, possible items that could have been used in the crime, or possible items that were victims' items. New Balance shoes. You had all these dark colored jackets, obviously looking for dark colored clothing that could have been used in the homicides. And this is very interesting too. Black face masks. I don't know if that's like a COVID mask or, an actual like pull down mask, or like, what do they call those? Not a Dickies, but a gator, something like that, because that was the part that Dylan said she saw the eyes from up. So that could have been a gator mask that was worn. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up as well too. I found that to be interesting. Let's see here. I have another News Nation segment that I want to bring up. And then I have, it's strange. I went through and looked at the relevance in time, because I wanted to look back at the OJ crime and see how long the time frame that they gave to the OJ murders and the victims out in Idaho, and just the relevance in time. And I think you'll be very, very surprised. So I want to pull that up in here in a second, but let's pull this News Nation segment up, and it talks about the 2 reasons that the IDs could be
Here
found.
to help break down these developments is former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. Stuart, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you. Thank you, Natasha.
And so I do want to ask what your thoughts are around this ID connected with someone in that Moscow home in Idaho being found in Kohberger's property. How big of a deal is this?
Well, there are 2 explanations. I think the latter is he grabbed.
Mama says, I love this channel and Bryan's calm approach to discussing crime. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that $5 super sticker too. It does help the channel here. Anything helps the channel. It gets recycled right back into the channel to give all of you a better experience, whether that be, equipment, lighting, anything that I can do here to improve. And I think I missed a super sticker. Cindy, I'm so sorry. Cindy has sent a $1.99 super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Let's do the right thing for Cindy.
Great cash, homie.
Give her a cheer. And as we always do.
I got you, homie.
Yeah, more money. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Steven says, very realistic point of view right here. I appreciate that. Like I do, I try to keep things real. I look at the evidence and I make my opinions and speculations on the evidence that's out there. There's other channels that do their material, and that's fine. I try to keep a level head about it, not get too conspiracy theorish, but that's what we do. We try to keep it calm. I get fired up some nights because I get passionate about it. You guys know that. Yeah, that's a good point too. Could be Dylan's or Bethany's ID as well. It's starting to think, you have to start thinking about it. We know, and like I said at the top of the show, we know that he was down, according to the evidence, he was down in that area 12 times before the actual crimes. Did he enter the house before the crimes? Did he go through the house? It's quite possible. It's quite possible at this point. Or did he just collect a trophy that night? I think in 9 minutes, for me, it would be really hard to, if he did commit these crimes, and they say it's a 9-minute window, I look at the whole thing as about 20 minutes from the time he got there, went through the house, got out, and left. It's about a 20-minute period of time. To think that you would grab something on the way out like an ID, I don't think an ID would just be out in the open. To me, it seems like he was possibly there, maybe a time or multiple times before that, and collected items, collected things, for trophies. I have a $4.99 super sticker from is it Dina Piazza? Hey, there was a Mike Piazza, famous baseball player for the Mets, very, very good catcher, by the way. In the 80s, late 80s and 90s. But as we do always, let's give her the tone. And I did get your email. Thank you so much. I hope you got my response.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the support this evening. Yeah, so let's keep playing through this here.
Something on his way out in his twisted way or in his twisted mind, as more of a trophy type of thing to take with him, or the more sinister and the more concerning aspect, would he have possibly entered into this home at some earlier time and date and grabbed something unknown to any of the occupants of the house? And that is something that he had on his person or had in his possessions before the date of carrying out
EC brings up a good point as well, and I forgot to talk about this. She says there's also a possibility that this is a completely different individual of someone else he perhaps stalked. Maybe not a murder victim, but someone who he had previously had a fixation with. And that's a great point that she brought that up. Maybe out in PA. You know, they said they're looking at some similarities to what's been reported, some similarities in 2 different cold cases out there that Kohberger could have been involved in. And before I wrap the show up, there's actually going to be a video that I want to play up, an old video of mine that I did about, when was this back? About 2 months ago. And I don't want to laugh at it in like a funny way, but I laugh in all of the things that I was almost like 95% correct in this case when they arrested Kohberger, and how much I thought my prediction lined up so well with it. But let's keep playing through this.
How common is that kind of trophy behavior in killers?
Very, very common, especially when you are talking about someone who may be more leaning towards the serial type of killer. I know through my sources they are working very hard now to
go down and smash that like
make a
button.
determination
I
as
would
to whether or
appreciate
not
it. It helps the stream out.
Bryan Kohberger is responsible for other unsolved cold case murders.
Algorithm.
So it is very common with respect to someone who has this type of fetish with respect to stalking these type of individuals and then carrying out these heinous acts to kind of retrieve something as a token of his dominance, the retrieval of someone's property.
If you'd like to chat, you might not be able to right now, but if you would like to chat, you can go down there and hit the join button, become a new member. You can join memberships for $1.99 a month. It's less than a price of coffee, and you'll be able to chat with all these wonderful people here in the chat, or send me your questions as well.
Property is more of a dominance, in their twisted mind to say that I've won because I have something that belonged to you.
And let's talk more about that, because as you said, we are learning that Pennsylvania police are investigating Kohberger for possible involvement in other crimes. Is this common for high-profile murder suspects? And would you be surprised if something did turn up?
I'm not going to be surprised if something else turns up. I think what had always been a concern to the law enforcement community is the number of victims and the brutality in which these murders were carried out. I think it's just not consistent with someone who would have gotten up on some particular.
So I think to gift a membership, if you hit the $ button down below, so you see a happy face, a $, and a plus sign. That's down below on the chat, just below the chat line. If you hit that, it says membership gifting. That will give you the ability to gift a membership. I don't know if that helps you, Lee.
Day for the first time and then decided to carry out a murder. This person obviously had to have had some sort of planning and plotting and some sort of mental defect, certainly at the time carrying out this type of horrific, quadruple homicide. And I think the law enforcement community, the investigation has really ironically taken off and has accelerated since the date of the apprehension. Now, law enforcement in connection with this case did an incredible job with respect to leading up to the apprehension of Bryan Kohberger, but it has really, from my sources, accelerated with respect to making a determination as to whether or not he may have been responsible for other murders closer to where he resided with his parents.
And we are also learning that Kohberger allegedly cyberstalked one of the victims from the Moscow, Idaho home. And of course, they're looking at his phones, looking at potentially images of the victims that he had stored on his phone. Help explain to us, because, Kohberger had training in this area. If he did commit this crime, why would he keep a trophy or an ID that clearly connects him to one of the victims? Why would he not wipe his phone of images of the people that he allegedly killed?
Well, to your last point, the technology is advanced, and certainly in the technology with respect to the FBI and on.
Let me just recognize this super chat from Teresa Madden, $4.99 super chat. Says, I thought it was a member. Oops, but it won't let me join. Not sure why. If you go down there below, it says there's a join button. If you click on that, you should be able to join the monthly membership. But I do appreciate the $5 super chat. Let's give her the tones.
Straight cash, homie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support of the channel.
On the level of technology that has been developed by the FBI and in partnership with various technology companies, it is almost virtually impossible to thoroughly scrub and delete any of your social media platforms, whether it's photographs, text messages, Snapchat, or otherwise. And that's just the reality. The technology that law enforcement now has is able to dive back in and be able to retrieve certain footprints that will then be able to reveal what you thought at the time you deleted, whether it's a text message, a photograph, or some other form of communication. And I think that given that the FBI has been able to assist local and state law enforcement in this particular case, has been a treasure trove to open up and expand the breadth of this investigation.
Have a great tan.
Now, with respect to whether or not Bryan Kohberger, I think his arrogance, I think there's a obvious degree of arrogance that this defendant maintains and has with respect to thinking that he's better and dominant of those people. I think that's his modus operandi, where he has a dominance feeling that he is stronger and more powerful and smarter. But ultimately, I think it showed that he was not stronger or more powerful or smarter, because law enforcement quickly was right on the heels and obviously led to his apprehension. And I think ultimately this thing is going to explode with respect to potentially other crimes being charged against him with respect to holding him responsible.
Andy, thanks for your emails as well. I know we've been talking a lot through email. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
For other victims.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
So now let's see. What do I want to do next? I wanted to pull up the timeline, and I just wanted to kind of reference this to the O.J. Simpson trial, because I said, how long did they speculate that it took the killer, because OJ was never convicted of that, but I think we all have our opinions. How long did it take the killer to commit these crimes? And I actually found a timeline. I want to pull this up, and I think you'll be very surprised. And I'm not saying that BK was trying to copy the OJ killings, but I think it's very surprising when you look at the timeline itself, because as you know, in the what we call the OJ killings, or the Nicole Brown, Ron Goldman killing, there were 2 victims in that, and there is evidence that Ron fought back. So I just wanted to pull the timeline up. I wish I could enlarge it, and I don't know how to do that, but I just want to read through here. So it says 6 p.m. Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J. Simpson leave separately for daughter's dance recital, where Simpson sat apart from his ex-wife and her family. At 6:30 p.m., Miss Simpson dines with family and friends at Mezzaluna restaurant, where waiter Ron Goldman is on duty. Miss Simpson's mother leaves behind her eyeglasses, which Goldman offers to drop them off at Miss Simpson's condominium. So between 10:15 and 10:20, Miss Simpson's neighbor hears dog plaintive wail. At 10:41 p.m. to 10:45, about 2 miles from Miss Simpson's home, O.J. Simpson's house guest, Brian Cato Kalin, goes outside and investigates a thumping noise on the other side of the wall. So I'm going to stop there. So let's just say from 10:20 to 10:41, 21 minutes, right? About 21 minutes, about 20 minutes. Okay. So we'll just say 20 minutes, because I think 20 minutes is a nice round number. Now, what I want to pull up now, and we're going to look at this. We're going to look at the virtual tour here. I want you to notice here, and keep in mind, 4 a.m. to 4:25 a.m. Let's round that off. 20 minutes. That's about the time that Kohberger pulls up, gets into, allegedly Kohberger pulls up, gets in the house, murders the 4 victims, leaves, all that. It's about a 20-minute period. So is it possible, and I know a lot of people said, is it possible to think that Kohberger acted alone? Was there another person involved? I still think he acted alone. And the possibility is, you look at this, the killer that killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, O.J. Simpson, had 20 minutes. We know Goldman fought back. There's evidence in that. They explain that in the case. 2 victims. Here, you had victims that were possibly asleep, and let's say it was a total of 20 minutes. It's possible. It's possible that Kohberger, if he, the alleged murderer in this case, could have done this alone. And I thought that was interesting. I just wanted to kind of cross-reference that, if anybody was wondering, because I was just wondering, like, how long was the timeline in the OJ, the Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman murder? And I wanted to look at that and reference that and said, like, how long was the timeline in this? And it was surprising. It was about 20 minutes. Yeah. Notice how everyone on the defense team dropped them like flies. Lee says, I think there was a group of people. I really do. She still thinks there's more people involved. Okay, that's respect. Casey says, given how messy the crime scene was, I think he was in and out of the crime scene, which is more methodical and clean. I'd say he had more time in the house. By the way, yeah, I think there was more time as well too. There's been some speculation that he was hiding in the house before anybody got back and he came out. But we know that his car was seen outside, circling, kind of doing those weird 3-point turns or whatever before he actually. So I don't think that he was actually waiting in the house. So Dr. Bob says, not if the car parked at 4:04 and he was back at 4:20 a.m. True, very true. So what I wanted to do here is talk about the lock. Now we know the locks were, I guess, was it Xana's dad that reported that he worked on the locks? And this is from News Nation about 4 months ago in Banfield segment. Let's play this really quick, and then I'll just give you kind of my thoughts on this.
On the telephone with her thoughts about what has happened. Clearly, she is in the dark, almost as the rest of us are, about the details of this case, why the police think it's a targeted attack. She did say she believes the kids in the house were targeted as opposed to the house itself. She also said something very significant that none of us knew before, and that was that her daughter, Xana, likely had a lock on her bedroom door. Her mom believes that her bedroom door had a lock. And she also said that Xana's dad, Jeff, had just the week before this murder been at that house to fix a lock.
That's interesting to me, because let's just say that these are victim IDs. These are trophies that were taken. We know Kohberger was down there 12 times in that area of King Road, of that residence, before the murders here. Could he have possibly entered that home, jiggled the lock, broke the lock? I don't think it's been reported what lock was damaged. That may come out in trial as part of evidence. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys know here in the chat. And it could be simply something that happened at a party, the lock got broken on her bedroom door, or the outside house door. So let's just keep playing through this.
It was the lock on the bedroom door or an outside door to the house. That's unclear.
Good evening.
But Xana's mom knows that Xana's dad had fixed a lock at that house just the week before. I want to bring back in Brian Enton, who has been on this case. Brian, see the photo on the screen right now. On the left-hand side is an image of an inside.
And you can clearly see the doorknob has been changed.
lock on a bedroom door in the basement, in the lower floors. And the person who took that picture was the former tenant who moved out in 2009. And he told Fox Digital that his bedroom door had a coded lock, and that's the photo of it. He said every bedroom in that house had a coded lock on it. But if we look on the right-hand side, that's a recent picture from social media of the second floor bedroom across from the kitchen. And you can see that does not appear to be, at least in this picture, a coded lock. So it's possible that in the last 3 years, some of the bedrooms may have actually changed, but it is quite a development to hear. Definitely that Xana was on the second floor and that her mom believes she had that lock and her dad had worked on it a week prior, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time we've heard that, Ashley. So you know, I'm just trying to think this through here. A different lock, you know, is that a reason that the killer was possibly able to get into the room? Certainly possible, but just heartbreaking. I was listening to your whole interview so closely. Just heartbreaking to hear that mom speak for the first time. Very similar.
Crazy looking back, you know, 4 months ago too, and you know, you're seeing this kind of timeline here. Day 19, killer still on the loose. It's crazy.
She's saying to Kaylee's parents, who I spoke to a couple of hours ago, just frustration that they don't have information, and frustration that you know that they say the police you know aren't keeping them updated as frequently.
So that is something that is new at this point. You know, obviously, Brian, tomorrow is the 3-week mark since those kids went out on a Saturday night, like all college kids do, and had a
Chosen brings up a question. Says, would you lock your door going to sleep in your own home, though? You're talking about inside door, like your bedroom door or your house door. You got to think you have a bunch of different kids living in a home. Maybe that's customary for them to do that, to lock their door. I don't know. You know, some people that have roommates that live people, they do that. You know, they lock their doors just to be safe. I know that, like, when I've stayed at colleges before, back in my old days, you know, you go hang out with a bunch of girls, you sleep in their common area, or you're hanging with the chick you're hanging with. They have locks on their doors, or just in the outside lobby, you know, there would be dorms off to that. All those doors would lock. So I don't know, you know.
A great time and got home at a pretty reasonable hour, you know, for college kids, 1:45 in the morning.
I'd probably lock my door.
I'm sensing as well from the Gonsalves family, and I cannot imagine the pain that they are suffering, especially since they've been left in the dark. But they are starting to, their patience is giving way to frustration. It seemed pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they, I mean, you heard what they said. I mean, they don't understand. Their main frustration tonight seemed that they just don't understand frustration. Absolutely.
The house. Interesting. It's Kaylee. Dylan Mortensen right there.
I think that they, I mean, you heard what they said. I mean, they don't understand. Their main frustration tonight seemed that they just don't understand why some of the people are being cleared. They want to know what the alibis are. They're like, is it just a friend who said I saw them? I mean, they want to know what the crystal clear alibis are of why some of these people were cleared. Something else interesting, Ashley, because I heard Xana's mom bring it up and you asked her about the stalker. I got some clarification tonight about that from Kaylee's family. They actually don't know of a specific stalker, or that she was being stalked. But they did say something similar to what Xana's mom just told you, just that, you know, these were very, very pretty girls, and that it wouldn't surprise them if there was a stalker or people, men following them around.
Kaylee and Dylan
but
Mortensen?
They did not know of a specific person.
Well, that's fascinating because the police said in a news conference when a reporter asked, where did you get the information about the stalker, you know, to start with? The police said it came up in interviews that they've been conducting. They didn't say who in the interviews told them that Kaylee had a stalker, but Kaylee's dad, Steve, has revealed that Kaylee told her dad, Steve, that she had a stalker. So I'm trying to figure out
Wow,
if it
look
was
at Kaylee's car didn't even have a license plate on it yet. There's not. Oh wait, is that the temp license plate to the left? I think it is, right up in this area here. That might be a temp license plate, or there's just not even one on it yet. I mean, that's how new that thing was. It's crazy to think that. Chilling.
Steve who brought that information to the police and they've not been able to corroborate it, or if someone else brought that information to the police and Steve could corroborate it. Is that still unclear?
So I think there was confusion along the way, is what her parents told me. That I don't know if they were misquoted or how it actually came out that the dad said there was a specific stalker, but he says that is not the case. There is not a specific person that they know of.
It's crazy to look like how
it was more
tight. And I want to go back here. How tight that street is. How many cars are there? It's such a small area of where all this happened.
Or how it actually came out that the dad said there was a specific stalker, but he says that is not the case. There is not a specific person that they know of. It was more of just this general feel that she could have had a stalker.
Thank you for watching.
All right. That's Banfield. And what I want to end with this evening, before we wrap this up, is the last video here by Court TV. And this is going to circumvent into one of my old videos that I did about 2 months ago. This one was placed by Court TV a day ago, and they're asking the question: is Bryan Kohberger a serial killer? Let's play through this, and then I want to play mine this video that I did about 2 months ago, kind of questioning the same thing. And what type of person were they looking for as a main suspect in these crimes?
You're coming from Washington State University? Yeah. And you're going where? Oh. You're going to be going to Pennsylvania. Oh, okay.
Unbelievable. He stopped on the side of the road. We're coming from Washington State University. He's, 3/4 of the way across the country. Where are you going? We're going to get some Thai food. I mean, just look at his eyes. This is the accused Idaho killer. Accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students after being stopped by police in Indiana, driving cross country from Pullman, Washington to his home state of Pennsylvania, where he was arrested on December 30th. And now News Nation's Chris Cuomo is reporting that law enforcement officials in Pennsylvania are investigating the accused Idaho killer in some other homicides.
But tonight, I can report to you exclusively that authorities in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested, are investigating potential involvement in other outstanding homicides.
All right, let me bring in my guest in Las Vegas, Nevada. Criminologist, professor, author, and serial killer expert Dr. Scott Bond is with us, who you can see live in his one-man show, The Psychology of Serial Killers, beginning in May. Also with us from Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Great to see you both. Dr. Bond, let me start with you. Does this guy strike you as a first-time killer, if in fact he's responsible for what happened? We're presuming that he's presumed innocent. He's going to have a trial. I get it. But if he committed this quadruple murder, does it have the earmarks of a first-time killer?
Well, that is, of course, a great question, and I've been thinking about that for some time now. And as you said, right now he's an alleged mass murderer. However, the evolution, the progression over time of his history, and the fact that he has shown such disdain toward women and aggressive behavior and his own troubled emotional problems and dealing with drugs and his, weight loss and, among other things, I believe that his progression is actually more similar to a serial killer than what we would typically find with a mass murderer. So would it shock me if we found out that he had killed before? No, it would not shock me. In fact, I thought that if this had been his first time and he is guilty of these crimes, I thought that it would be very likely that he would go on to kill again if he had not been apprehended. So no, I would not find it shocking.
Bobby Chacon, looking at some of the facts and circumstances surrounding all this, Chris Cuomo reporting that now in Pennsylvania, they're looking at some cases there as well. An obvious place to look, that's where he's from. What does your gut tell you about the circumstances of that scene and what happened in Idaho? Does it look like it's done by someone who's never done it before?
Vinny, that's really hard to say. I mean, my expertise lies in the investigation of the crime, and I'm certainly not a serial killer expert. But you do look at patterns. I'm sure it's very prudent of the people in Pennsylvania, law enforcement in Pennsylvania, to look at where he used to live and see if there are any types of crimes that kind of fit the type of crime he's accused of doing in Idaho. I think that's just prudent law enforcement. I think that when you have someone that's willing to engage in this kind of brutal activity, and you are in a jurisdiction where that person used to reside, I think it's prudent to look out. And then, of course, we have the NVAVC, the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime, the FBI's arm that's supposed to kind of coordinate this thing. And if it does have similar type of crimes happening across jurisdictions, it kind of supposed to kind of find those and bring those up and highlight them to those jurisdictions. But I think it's perfectly prudent. It's hard to say, there's nothing concrete. I'm certainly not privy to the investigations on either end. But certainly I think it's prudent for law enforcement to look into it, to see if there are similar crimes. It's really difficult to say whether he's ever done.
Phone line is open, 774-855-9400. If you want to call the show, I'll take your live call. If you have any opinions or any thoughts, you can voice your opinion. Give us a call here. We're going to hang here for a little while longer, and then we're going to wrap this puppy up.
Done this before or not. The one serial killer I worked in the FBI got away with it for 14 years, and the only reason we caught him was the final kill that he did was so out of character from the ones he had done in the previous 13 years. That's how he got caught. He violated his own MO and his own ritual, and so he was caught. So it's really hard to say whether or not he's done this before. I mean, I see some, as an investigator, I see some glaring mistakes that he made in Idaho, which kind of led me to believe that maybe this was his first time. But the brutality of it and the calmness with which he carried it out also makes me lean the other way, that maybe he has done this before. So I really haven't come down one way or another on it. It's really too difficult for me to tell without knowing more information.
Dr. Bond, the question everyone wants answered is always why. Does that question ever get answered when you're talking about someone who is a serial killer, someone who is out there killing again and again, sometimes strangers?
Absolutely. I mean, that is the million-dollar question when it comes to serial killers. And there is a misunderstanding generally among the public and among even some experts that they think one size fits all, that this motive is standard and it fits all serial killers, and it usually involves sex, some sort of a sexual motivation, and that's just not true. Serial killers are motivated by very different things. If in fact it turns out that that Kohberger is guilty, and let's say that whether he killed before or if he was simply a fledgling serial killer looking to do it again.
We've heard fledgling killer before in Silence of the Lambs. Was he a fledgling killer?
I see in this
Clary.
is some rage and power and control. So if he already had issues with women and was condescending and tried to control them, and he even
fly, little starling.
Apparently bragged about his sexual conquests and his ways with women. That strikes me as a guy who is probably lacking in self-esteem and his own confidence, but acts out on it and tries to make up for it through domination and control. And certainly, as Mr. Chacon said, the crime scene demonstrates definite, brutality and cruelty, and that would be consistent with an individual who really had some resentment, anger, and perhaps just wanted to make women pay. And of course, the male student was killed. I sadly, I think that was just collateral damage. He happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But to answer your question, Vinny, this strikes me of anger, retribution, and a desire for power and control. And that is a particular type of serial killer. Ted Bundy was that kind of serial killer. Dennis Rader, BTK, was that kind of serial killer. And in fact, there's an interesting parallel between Bryan Kohberger and potentially Dennis Rader, BTK, because BTK also killed 4 people in his first murders. So he, in fact, was a mass murderer before he became a serial killer.
Dr. Bond, we're going to have to continue this conversation on another night, and we will, because this is fascinating stuff.
Okay.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to plan an hour on this and talk about all these different cases, have you guys back. Bobby Chacon, Dr. Scott Bond, thanks so much.
All right. So what I want to do before I wrap this up, first of all, I want to thank everybody for hanging out this evening. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate all the super chats and all the new members here that have joined in supporting the channel. I am going to do a members only stream probably sometime in the near future. I'll let you guys know about that. We'll set that up, probably do, like a question and answer or anything that you guys want to talk about referring to Kohberger. And if anybody wants to join that, all you can do is go down and hit the join button. You can become a monthly member. My membership is like $1.99, so come join us there. What I want to end on is a video that I made about 2 months ago, and it was kind of a prediction about who the suspect was. And right after Bryan Kohberger became suspect number 1 in this, I kind of it's amazing, my prediction that I had in this case. But let's play this out, and then we'll finish up the stream here. So yes, I'm still doing Serial Killer Tuesdays. So yeah, so anyway, if there are new viewers just coming in, or this is the first live that you've seen, we do Kohberger on Sunday evenings. That's our big night. And then we do Serial Killer Tuesdays, where we look back at infamous serial killers, go over some of the cases, things that they did, news coverage, maybe some possible interviews that they gave. And then on Thursdays, we look back at very bizarre cases, one-off type cases, and we do our interrogation Thursdays, where we'll watch the interrogation videos, kind of have some fun in those. It's a little bit more relaxed during those streams. And then, obviously we'll switch up the content as it goes along to keep things fresh. But I need your feedback, because this is what you all come here for, is this material. Christine says, Bryan, I am sure other members feel the same as I do. We're not supporting you and not looking for anything. We are supporting you and not looking for anything special. I don't know what you mean by that. Casey said, I'm going to try to make some more lives. I'm working some night shifts in the UK, and you guys keep me company. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love seeing all the new faces, because now it feels like I'm reaching the people that are on, members on the channel, but they're not catching the live, because that's what I do. I just do live shows. I hate recording videos. I just really do. I'd rather just do a live, download it, and re-upload it for the algorithm. So let's do this. Let's play through this video here, and I think you'll find this very interesting. Guilty. I expected a tougher. Keep in mind, this is like 2 months ago. Wow, times have changed just in 2 months. But this is pretty good. Let's widen that up and play through here, and you'll find my predictions were very, very almost correct in this character. Maybe someone with a military background, but maybe he's experiencing killing before. So this was like on January 2nd. Yeah, you know what? Let's get off this. I made a video. I was in it about for my my camera was set up in a different position in my room. Wow, this is crazy. Days ago, if you haven't watched on my channel, and let's bring that up. And it was titled, "My beard was so much." Idaho murderer could be a serial killer. No fake glasses, yeah. And if you haven't watched that, I haven't worn my blue in a while. Play through. Here's some of my thoughts to the particular person or people that did commit this crime. The suspect or suspects knew these girls. So, yeah, and by the way, if there's any glasses that you want me to wear, you can send them to my PO box. The PO box is down below in my description. If you want to send in some glasses, I'll wear them live on air. You pick them out, send them in, I'll wear them. But this video I'm actually going to go over, and it was my prediction as to the person that possibly could have committed, the person or people that could have committed this crime. And look how close I was. This is really crazy. Look at the old graphic too. Opinionated Idiot. It's funny. Well, let's stop there for a second. The interesting thing about this is now what we're finding out is that Bryan stalked. I don't drink these girls. He was in the area, in and around that area. Yeah, and he stalked Kaylee and Maddie. Bryan is vegan, and I believe Kaylee and Maddie worked at a vegan restaurant. Now, this is again, this is not 100% confirmed. This is just through some conversation with a coworker, and they said they read something that Bryan had an interaction and saw the girls there first. Could be true, it could not be true, and maybe this is something that we find out when the affidavit is unsealed, hopefully in the next couple of days. So the affidavit hasn't been unsealed yet, but that would be the first interaction supposedly with them. So if you look here, so the suspect knew these girls by watching or interacting with them before. That he was not a stranger. And they had been watching them for a while or interacted with them before. This is definitely not a stranger. The suspect that did this is very smart, and they did a significant amount of recon on the house. They methodically planned out this crime. They studied movements of the house, who came and went, and what times people came and left the home. So now that we're finding more out about Bryan, we're finding that he was a PhD student in criminology. He actually went on Reddit and was posting up surveys to try to get information from people that have been in jail. There's another article that I was reading today that he may have been in contact with the BTK killer and had a relationship with him and corresponded with him. So there's a lot of interesting things. And I think more of this information is going to come out as the days and weeks go on. But I'm like, when all this started coming out, I'm like, man, I almost nailed it. That this is the guy. This was the profile. The suspect came in on foot and made sure that the vehicle they drove was far away and out of reach of any cameras or people that could see it. Almost there. And this definitely was a targeted attack. It definitely was a crime of rage or passion or to fulfill a fantasy. And now, you know, when we think about this and we see this, to fulfill a fantasy, maybe he was trying to do the perfect crime. Maybe he wanted to be a serial killer. Maybe he was starting to become a serial killer. And again, I still speculate that he may be involved in other crimes. And I want to just go through this video and finish it out as to if I say in this video, if I was an FBI profiler, this would be the person that I'm looking for. So now with all that known, so here I question, is this a serial killer? And it's almost like he had the beginnings of becoming a serial killer. With all that's gone on, with no one that has come forward, no one that has brought any new evidence in this case. Again, it's been 8 weeks since this crime has happened. Could we start thinking at this point, could it be a serial killer? If I was an FBI profiler, this is probably the suspect that I would be looking for. It's a large male with great strength. So we know he wasn't large. He was actually a smaller guy, but he was in his 20s, 28 years old. We found out. All right, let's recognize this new member. We have Creed 64 has become a new member here, and we got to play the tones.
Straight cash, homie.
I got you, homie.
Thank you for becoming a member. Look at my face. He's like, duh. All right, let's keep playing through this. Wrap it up soon. Out that he was an extreme introvert, and we're finding out that he has been idiot chat. I like rejected by people around him. He was kind of the black sheep of the family. I'm almost like, when this all came down, I was like, yes, my profile is like correct of this guy. Outdoorsman, not really, but someone that likes to hunt, is very experienced with knives, and that could be the you know, becoming that criminologist, taking psychology and wanting to know about all those types of things. He's definitely obsessed with killing. Would be in their 20s or 30s, an extreme introvert, someone that was bullied or rejected by women throughout their entire life. Check mark. This is definitely someone that spends a lot of time outdoors. Someone that likes to hunt. Do a half check mark on this one, and is very experienced with knives. Someone that may be obsessed with killing, or they likely killed or attempted to kill before. And that's where I'm saying there could be a possibility that he's done this before. He may have done this. They may have an uncontrollable temper or have random bursts of energy and strength. And what we're finding out is there have been reports that Bryan has gone into restaurants and bars and harassed women, has made rude comments to them. So that would fall under, you know, that uncontrollable temper or rage. And it's like, check mark. I nailed it. I nailed it. Yeah, that's a great point, William. He was overweight and he went to the gym and corrected it. Yeah. So, yeah, he may be stronger. And it's funny. Sometimes the smaller guys, because they have that elasticity in their muscles. I know a little bit about Teresa is a new member. Thank you so much, Teresa, for coming into the membership program. I do appreciate your support.
Straight cash, homie.
I got you, homie.
All right, let's keep playing through like weightlifting.
2 more minutes.
I'm gonna wrap this. Basically lifted weights since I was 20 years old. I'm in my 40s now. Yeah, you're definitely true on that, man. Because some of the smaller guys sometimes are very, very, very strong. This guy had a lot of rage and a lot of strength. I think this person definitely abused alcohol and drugs. And the abuse of alcohol and drugs, we are finding out that Bryan did battle a heroin addiction. I believe that's something in an article his parents has confirmed. So check mark on that one. Thank you very much. Listen to me. And they have very obsessive compulsive personality, because the way that this was planned out. Check mark on that one too. It's funny that Christine says that. So here's the funny thing about it. I was dyeing my beard back then. It's actually beard dye. Yeah, this is kind of weird. I'm like fucking watching myself, but I wanted to go back and just kind of compare my prediction from a couple of months ago before Kohberger was actually became the suspect and arrested. Yeah, I was dyeing my beard back then. Could you believe that? Yeah, double vision. Let's play through this. Detail. Now I know this has been an extremely frustrating case, a very frustrating case for the victims' families involved, the Moscow police, and the world, because the world has been watching. So yeah, basically that's going to sum up that video. And if you haven't seen it, I'm going to drop the link to that one. You can go over and click over and watch that. If you want to watch that after this live stream, I would appreciate it. But again, when I started, all of the information came out and the profile, and I saw this person. Now that we're learning about him, like, yes, like I totally almost perfectly nailed who this person was. Wow, that's crazy to look back at that. I literally think that I had like 10 people watching my live streams, and you know, it's crazy to sit here and it's like 168 people watching. And at one point we had about 185 tonight. So Cindy, let's recognize her. Cindy's become a member of the channel. Cindy, thank you so much for your support and your membership. We'll give it a tone.
I got you, homie.
Let's do one of these. I haven't done these in a while.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
We'll do a Biden.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, the channel is growing. You guys make it great. It's a lot of fun. And we have a lot of fun with these shows. I'd love to get this many people on my Tuesday and Thursday night shows. Those are really fun. You're missing out. You're missing out on those. He says, Manny Joe says, Bryan is so proud of Bryan when Bryan gets Bryan's profile right. That's kind of funny. Yeah, how dare you? I'd love to get the crowd over here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Come over and try those out. I think you'll have a lot of fun with us. Tuesdays, we do Serial Killer Tuesdays, and then Thursdays, we do interrogation videos, and they're a lot of fun. The Thursday streams are very laid back. We have some fun. So the next streams are going to be this. Tuesday night, we're going to do Aileen Wuornos, or Eileen Wuornos, however you want to pronounce it. You can click in there and hit the join me or remind me button. That's going to be Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. So we're going to go back and look at Monster, the movie Monster. And then we have the cringy testimony of Anthony Todd on Thursday night. And that's going to be the courtroom cringy testimony. You can go in there and click the remind me there as well. I would appreciate it. But I think you're missing out. Those are really two great nights to come over and hang out, even just for a little while. Monster's such a great movie, isn't it? They did such a great job with that movie. But we're gonna get ready to wrap this one up. I got about 3 more minutes before we wrap this up. Is there anything that anybody wants to talk about? Throw it out there in the chat. I have the phone line open. Phone line is open, 774-855-9400. I'll take your call really quick before I go off air. If not, we'll be back on Tuesday. Come over and hang out on Tuesday. Really, 160 people in here. Come hang out on Tuesday. You'll be surprised. It's a lot of fun. It has the same tone as these shows. And Thursday nights are really fun. That gets really laid back. We throw a lot of jokes around. And, my crew really loves those Thursday shows. But we'll chill here for about another minute. Phone line is open, 774-855-9400 if you want to call in really quick. Yeah, I got my candle. I just don't want to get burned. Let's do a sub count check. Let's do a sub count check before we go off air. Let's see if we gain some more subs this stream. Oh, wow, we did. So I got to update the board without burning my hands. We're at 31,872. We've gained some new subs tonight. Let's get that up there. Let's change the sub count on the way to 5,000, then on the way to 10,000. That's what I want. Again, I do 3 live shows a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I usually put up all of the kind of reminders ahead of time. I interact a lot on my community board through there, and I also have a Facebook page too that interact through. So we're at 3183, guys. We're getting there. We're getting close to 5,000. You can also email me at theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com if you want to correspond. I have a PO box as well. That's down in the comments below. If you want to send anything via the show, I'll send that in the chat really quick. If you want to send me glasses, I'll wear them live on air. So that is the P.O. Box. It's 11 Robert Toner Boulevard, Suite number 5, number 377, North Attleboro, Massachusetts, 02760. Thank you all so much this evening. Yeah, that's the Gwyneth Paltrow candle. What's it like? What was it? Moist vagina or warm vagina or something? Thank you all so much this evening for joining the show. The Sunday shows are great. They're getting really large, and the crowd is great. You guys are great here in the chat. Everybody's very respectful. I love all the opinions of everybody, and I do appreciate everybody, the gifting, the memberships, and just really supporting me and this channel. Hang on one second. Check something really quick. So someone just asked the question, and I should know this. I live here. So Robert Toner was a hero, a tragedy, and a North Attleboro native son. 50 years ago, North Attleboro commandeered its most well-known World War II veteran hero and dedication of a memorial stone on the roadway of memory of Lieutenant Robert Toner. Fascinating article here. He was World War II vet, which is cool. I had a lot of World War II veterans in my family that have now passed and served. So anyway, I love all you guys. We'll be back here on Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come join us. I will see you all in the near future. Everybody have a wonderful Monday. We'll be back here Tuesday. Great show tonight. Great crowd. Lots of great material. Watch this on replay, or I'm going to re-upload it in a couple days. You'll be able to catch it. Thank you all. I will see you all soon. If I can get the outro, if I can find it. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Email me if anybody wants to chat or whatever. I know I get your emails all the time. Appreciate you all. See you. Bye.